Zoom says that now. Well, welcome to June. Um, it's like summer now, which is kind of crazy. But our theme for this month's classes is going to be transitions and moving through change, right? That's the only constant in life is change, right? And I found a quote from Socrates. He says, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." And often we think of either we wish things hadn't changed from the way they were before and long for the past, right? Or we have a lot of judgment about what has happened in the past and think we need to fix it. But like he said, we need to focus on building the new. And as we go through our practice today, I really want us to pay attention to that space between the connection between one position and the other, and really mindfully moving there um, instead of just going from one thing to the other, using that space in between to intentionally build the new, the next thing. So we'll actually start on our bellies today, just lying down with make a pillow for your forehead with your hands and use this place to kind of center in with your breath. And if you have two blocks, before you get too settled, I forgot to grab everyone's props. If you have two blocks, have two blocks handy, because we'll probably use them. We'll do some hip work. So we'll do some work to strengthen and turn them on, but then with that, after that strength, really make an effort to release and stretch and relax. But to start with, just really tune into your diaphragmatic breath. With your hands under your forehead and your arms in this position, it really gives us a chance to use our diaphragm to breathe and not all of those chest muscles that like to work. And really think of paying attention to that space between the inhale and the exhale, and between the exhale and the inhale, and just feeling that place where one changes to the other. Like, what does that feel like in your mind and your body? It's something we do over and over again all day. Right? We intuitively know it's just time for the next thing. And we can't stay stuck in one for too long. Right? That would be totally dangerous and detrimental. Just take one more round of breath there just to kind of get into your breath and think about expanding your rib cage in all directions. And then we'll lift our heads and come into a sphinx. Just bring your arms into a number 11, elbows underneath your shoulders, and just tuck your chin and let your head hang heavy. Kind of push into your elbows. You can find a little sensation of dragging your elbows back toward your torso, But let your neck lengthen, and you can start to rock your ear, one ear towards shoulder and then other ear toward your other shoulder. Just kind of rock from side to side there. In a way that feels kind of good and friendly. It doesn't need to be big or a lot of sensation. Next time your left ear comes to your shoulder, then just turn your chin to your shoulder and then find the completion of your circle. So look up, take your chin to your other shoulder, and then tip your ear to your shoulder, and then let your chin come to your chest. So ear to shoulder, and then chin to shoulder. Draw your circle, ear to shoulder, chin to shoulder. And then switch directions. So chin toward your right shoulder, and then tip your ear. And these, with your shoulders in this position, this circle isn't going to be really big, and that's fine. You're just kind of getting into those little muscles around your neck. And after you've gone two directions in that second, two circles in that second direction, just let your chin hang and start to find some movement in your shoulders, pushing your elbows down to bring your shoulders away from your ears, and then, like making your little turtle neck and let your shoulders creep up towards your ears. And then change the position of your head. Maybe look straight forward and let your chin be more parallel with the floor. Just shrugging your shoulders up and down. And then see if you can find some circles with your shoulder blades there. And after you've gone 2 or 3 in one direction, just switch. And then push the floor away. Find that length in your neck. Find some length there, and then tuck your chin, and we'll find some cat and cow. So really draw your sternum in, draw your lower ribs in, draw your belly up. Push into your thighs and lift your pelvis up off the floor, and then gradually lower everything back down and look forward. You can do this pretty slowly, right? And really pay attention to this transition. Changing into flexion, and then gradually, mindfully finding extension. And then pause when you get back to your Sphinx. We'll pivot on the left forearm and just roll onto your left side. That's my block in the way. You can bend your left knee and lengthen out through your right leg on the floor, and just find some of those shoulder shrugs here with a little bit different load on that left shoulder. So shoulder up towards your ear and then push it away. And just do that a few times. And then I have my left knee bent. We're going to lift our hips up off the floor. Right foot's on the floor. And just bring your right hand behind your head. Open your heart up toward the ceiling, and then bring that right elbow toward your left wrist. And then open and twist. Open and twist around. Let's do one more. Open yourself up, drop your hips down, just bend both of your knees in towards your chest a little more, and then come upright. So I've got this zigzag with my legs, and your right hip can be up off the floor. We're gonna switch, so yeah, you can sit on your block and find a side bend over to your left. And then unleash that and twist to your left. Right hand outside that left knee. Just find a twist. Unwind yourself, and then we'll externally rotate this right leg and just find a Baddha Konasana. You can hold on to ankles, but just find some circles here with your torso. Notice the difference from one hip to the other, but no big folds yet here. We're just going to move around. And then take your left knee and just bring your right forearm to the floor and lengthen your legs out. We'll just do that same thing on the other side. So I've got my right knee bent underneath, left leg's long, right forearm's on the floor, and just find those shoulder shrugs here, just with a little bit different load. Let's do a few. And you can play when we come up into that side plank. Push the floor away, and you can play with the angle of your forearm. Just make sure that it feels good for your shoulders, and then lift that bottom hip up. Bring your left hand behind your head, and then find your twist, elbow toward your wrist. Keep pushing through that right elbow and forearm to find some length. Once you're done doing 4 or 5 of those, bring your hip down, bend that right knee in a little further, and then come up for your twist. For your side bend. So just side bend over to your left, right arm long. And then unbend and find a twist, left arm. Grabs that right knee. Untwist yourself. And this time let your legs go long. And just let yourself kind of find a bend in your knees as you fold forward into Paschimottanasana, just a 2-leg forward fold. And start to get friendly with your lower back and your glutes, but let it be fluid. Maybe find one little wave, not a super deep bend. We're just at the very beginning of our practice. Just bend your knees. We'll come back into our Sphinx pose to the side that we started, and then come all the way down. Bring your hands alongside your chest. Draw your elbows toward each other. You can bring your forehead to the floor to start. Push down into your pubic bone, and then bring your legs together like they're one leg. Lengthen your lower back. So really think about pointing your tailbone toward your heels. And then lift your head and chest, lift both legs, and open your legs as wide as your mat. And then bring your legs back together and lower down. Lift both legs and then open them wide, bring them back together and lower. And you can let your hands float up off the floor if you want to get your back body more involved. Let's just do 1 or 2 more. Turning on your back body, but you're not crunching into your lower back. And then push yourself up into a table, and then hips towards heels. Coming into a child's pose, but we're going to keep our torso pretty high, the arms long. Point your right thumb up toward the ceiling, and then lift it up alongside your ear. Swim that right arm out to the side, and just find your big arm circle. Bring the back of your hand toward your right hip, and then lift. Find that shoulder extension there as far as you can, and then swim it around back to the front. Do 2 more slow shoulder circles. Try to keep your rib cage pretty stable, your pelvis stable. And swimming through that shoulder. Swim back around and plant that hand down. And then the other side. Lift that left thumb up. Swim it around. You'll internally rotate and bring the back of your hand to your outer left hip. And then swim it around. So really pay attention to the whole length of that movement, right? The work is in changing your arm from the back to the front. and from the front to the back. Right? That's the whole interesting part, that transition. Next time your arm comes forward, just pause into your child's pose. You can bring your elbows down, bend both elbows, and bring your hands behind your neck. Maybe fingertips touch, maybe hands clasp, or you're just a prayer. And stretch through your outer armpits and triceps. Bring your forearms back to the floor, and now come up into a table with your forearms on the floor. And lift your right knee up off the floor. We'll do our hip cars here. So big circles with that right hip. And see if you can do it without a whole lot of tension in that hip socket. So your circle doesn't have to be big. Lift your heel toward the ceiling, out toward the side, up toward your armpit, into your chest. But see if you can do this in a relaxed way. And after you've done 3 or 4 in one direction, then you'll switch and bring your knee into your chest, out to the side, heel to ceiling. But see if you can let this be pretty soft and loose. So you're just playing with the space in that hip. And then bring your knee down, and we'll just switch sides. So left heel lifts toward the ceiling, knee comes out to the side, in toward your armpit. And after you've done 3 or 4 one direction, then just switch. Just go at your own pace and try to let it be pretty relaxed so it doesn't have to be huge. See if you can let yourself be pretty soft in that hip capsule. And then let both knees come to the floor. Let your knees go wide, toes together. Push back into a child's pose. You can sway your hips from side to side a little bit and just see if you can find some space. Take one more breath there. And then come on up into a table. Lengthen your right leg back and then bring your toes to the floor. Ground through those right toes, ground through your hands, and then lift your left knee up into your chest. Bring your left shin back down and then lift your right leg and your left arm and reach out. And we'll just cycle between those two. So left knee into your chest, shin down, right leg back. So keep those lower ribs drawing in when you lengthen your arm and leg. So you're one long line. Let's do one more lift of that right leg, left arm. Bring everything down. Then you'll take your right leg and cross it behind your left. Bend your knees. So now you've kind of got this cross-legged table, and just sit back. And then you can rock forward and back a little bit here. Just stretching through those outer hips. And take one more rock. Come back down. Ground through that left shin. Lift your right leg. You can bend your knee. Float your left arm up. Reach back. Maybe grab your foot. Maybe just float. And then release. Find a few cat and cows, or maybe even like circles with your rib cage and pelvis here. Kind of reset your spine. And then we'll lengthen left leg back, toes down. Ground into the floor and just really pay attention to the transition from this right knee down to your right knee into your chest. And then right shin down, lift left leg, lift right arm. Right. We're changing from right shin up And then left leg, right arm. It's good for your brain to have this cross lateral movement. But right, we're also tapping into that core strength on the front and the back. Do one more lift. And then bring your right hand down. Just cross that left leg behind your right. Bend both knees. And then sit back into this cross-legged child pose. And you can just rock forward and back. And floss through your hips. So we're turning those muscles on to engage them, really bring our nervous system into awareness. And then we're transitioning into this place where we can kind of stretch. Let's do one more rock. And then ground through that right shin, lift your left leg. And lift your right arm, bend through that left knee, maybe reach back. Maybe your hand and foot reach each other. Push your foot into your hand, hand into your foot. And then release. Hands down. You can sway your hips from side to side, find a cat and cow. And we'll make our way to downward facing dog. And take this time to kind of just recalibrate and find some movement. And then lift your right leg up and back behind you. Bend your knee and open your hip. Maybe look under your left armpit towards your right foot. See if you can find some buoyancy under your left armpit. Find a big open twist there. And then bring your right knee into your chest and step your foot between your hands. Left knee down. And then we'll find a low lunge. Come on up. Reach high. And then left arm forward, right arm back. Find a twist. And you'll just draw this right hand down alongside your right hip. Make a big circle. Come up. And then left arm back, right arm forward for a twist. And then just keep letting that left arm go in a circle. So we're just peeling open into a twist and then circling your arm around. And just keep going around here. So you use your hips to stabilize you. And notice what things need to turn on. But pay attention to the time where you're transitioning. So open up to the left. So your left arm is back. Tuck your left toes. Just lift that left knee up and ground your heel. So now we're in a warrior two. Bend through your right knee, and then you can straighten and bend. Straighten and bend. Straighten and bend. And then drop your left hand. Just find your reverse warrior. And then cartwheel your hands down to the floor inside your right foot. Lift your left heel. Bring your left knee to the floor, and then just toe heel that right foot out to the right some more. Find some circles here in your hips. And then circle the other way. And then walk your hands back a little bit. Let your right leg come towards straight. And then just windshield wiper that foot from side to side. And your knee can be bent as much as it needs to. See if you can find some internal and external rotation. You can bring your hands on your blocks. There you go. And then bend into your knee. You can walk your hands forward, tuck your back toes, and just step back into a downward facing dog. Notice the difference from one side to the other. Inhale, lift your left leg up and back. Bend your knee, open your hip, and then find some buoyancy under your right armpit. Maybe look underneath your right armpit and wave at yourself with your left toes. Just find that nice twist there. And then knee into your chest, step your foot between your hands. Bring your right knee down and then come on up. Reach high. Right arm forward, left arm back. Find your twist. And this left arm will just keep coming around and back up. And then we'll open up the other way. Right arm back, left arm forward. Just big arm circles here. And just really feel that change from twisting open to twisting closed. Next time your right arm's back, keep your arms wide, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, and then ground your heel. And just find your warrior two here. Bend and straighten that front knee a few times. And really be mindful of this change from a straight leg to a bent leg. Let everything be involved on the back of that leg in that transition. So you're not just trying to get to that destination. Next time your knee's bent, you can reverse your warrior. And then cartwheel both hands to the floor inside that left foot. Toe heel your left foot out to the left. You can bring your right knee down and find some circles in your hips here. One direction and then the other. And then we'll play with that straight leg. So walk your hands back, bring your hands up on blocks as much as you need to so you can lengthen through that left leg, and then you're just going to kind of tick-tock from side to side. So your foot will move, but really the movement's happening here up at your femur bone and your hip socket. So it might not move a lot, but we're just kind of working on finding space in that hip joint so you have some freedom. Just take one more breath there. And then bend through your left knee, plant your hands, and make your way back to your downward facing dog. And then lift yourself up onto your tippy toes. Shift your heels over to the left, and then really ground through your right heel. You can bend through your left knee any amount, and then push back through that outer right hip. And take a breath or two there. And then just shift. So come back onto your tippy toes and then shift your heels over to the right. Ground through your left heel, and you can bend through that right knee. You can bend through both knees, but find some length through that outer left leg. And then back to center. Come onto your tippy toes, look forward, bend your knees, and just take a walk up to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up to standing, reach high. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale and reach high. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, left foot back into a lunge. Exhale, left knee down. Inhale, come all the way up to standing, reach high. Exhale, interlace your fingers behind your back. Draw your elbows together. Open through your heart with your breath in. Release your right hand to your lower back or the back of your left thigh and lift your left arm up. Take a breath in and then exhale, side bend over to your right. Inhale, back up through center, reach both arms high. Exhale, hands come down inside that right foot. Find your circles, maybe one direction and then the other, just little, and then bend and straighten your leg 1 or 2 times, any amount. And then frame your foot with your hands and step back into a plank. Let yourself find your strength in your plank. So knees up or down. Externally rotate your upper arm so your elbow creases are pointing forward. Feel like you're pulling your wrists towards your toes and your toes towards your wrists. And then pull the floor towards you to lower all the way down to your belly. Keep your hands along the widest part of your chest. Inhale, lift your head and chest, lift both legs, and then spread your legs wide. And then bring them back together and lower. Do that 2 more times. Inhale, lift, exhale. Inhale and lift, exhale. And then push yourself up through table. And then take a breath or 2 in child's pose to find some space through your lower back, through your hips. You can rock from side to side. And then tuck your toes, downward facing dog. And then play here with your pelvis. Find some movement through your pelvis. So find enough softness in your knees that you can tuck your tailbone, and then you can really lift your tailbone. So find some fluidity even among the support that you have in your hips. And find that lifted tailbone, and then soften your lower ribs in. Drop your heels down a little. Lengthen through your outer armpits. And then lift onto your tippy toes, look forward. Bend your knees, make your way to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way to standing, reach high. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, right foot back. Exhale, right knee down. And pay attention to these transitions. Inhale, up into your lunge. And then exhale, hands behind you. Interlace your fingers the unusual way. Draw your elbows together, open your heart. And then release your left hand to your lower back or the back of your right thigh. Reach your right arm up. And then side bend to your left. And that length through that whole right side. Inhale, both arms up, come to center. Exhale, hands down inside that left foot. Find your circles here of your hips. Maybe once in one direction, once in the other. Just some fluid movement. And then walk your hands back as much as you need to bend and straighten that leg once or twice here. Plant your hands, you can frame your foot, step back into your plank, and feel really solid here. Push the floor away. Spread your shoulder blades wide on your back. Feel like you're pulling your hands and your feet toward each other. And then pull the floor toward you to lower all the way down. And then 3 of those cobras with your lifted legs that spread. So lift up, spread wide, and then lower. Lift up. So you're not lifting high, you're just lifting so that everything's engaged. And after your third one, push through your table, find your child's pose. You can sway, just breathe some space there. Find that length through your lower back and compression in your belly. And as you're ready, find your downward facing dog. But let that transition from your child's pose to your downward facing dog have some attention brought to it. It's not just going from one thing to the other, but there's a mindful transition with intention. Play with your shoulders this time you're in downward facing dog. You can play with shrugging up toward your ears and then dropping them away. Maybe seeing if you can find some circles with your shoulder blades there. Let there be enough space where you're not rigid and you can find some fluidity. And then find a place that feels supportive and comfortable to hold for a breath. Come on to your tippy toes, look forward. Exhale, bend your knees, take your walk to the top of your mat. Now, each of these breaths is a transition. Pay attention to what's happening as you inhale to halfway lift. Use the strength of your hamstrings there. Exhale and fold. Inhale all the way to standing reach high. And then exhale, hands to your heart. Find your blocks and have them on the highest height. We're going to find a standing forward fold with your hands on your blocks. We're doing a little bit of hip work, but we'll also stretch. So hopefully this isn't too tension building, Amy. Hopefully it feels good. So we're going to find a forward fold with your hands on your blocks at the highest height. Okay. Ground down through your right foot and find enough softness in your knee that you really have your hamstring and your glute on there. And then bend through your left knee so your foot's up off the floor. Stay strong through your right outer hip and just let your left knee come out to the side, kind of like a peeing dog. And then you'll bend through your right knee and just find a big curtsy. You'll lengthen your left leg behind out to the right. And we'll just move through those two motions. So you'll push into that right heel to bring your left knee out to the side. And then you'll bend through that right knee. So pay attention to the transition between these two movements. You can move pretty slowly and mindfully and use the strength of that hip. Let's just do one more. Knee out to the side and find your length. And then push into that right heel, straighten through your right knee and just bring your left knee in line with your right knee and then step back into a lunge. Bring your left block in line with your right foot. Okay. And then just reach and find a twist here. And let yourself find some length through that right outer hip as you twist and open. And take another breath. And then bring your right hand down, left knee down. And then we can find a lizard here. So you can toe heel that right foot out to the right. You can keep this left block inside your right foot. You can bring your forearms down to your block. You can bring forearms to the floor. Find a place where you still have space to be able to move your pelvis. Let your heart be open. And then breathe into that right outer hip. Take one more breath there. And then move your block out of the way. Toe heel that right foot in between your hands. We'll tuck our back toes, lift your back knee, ground your heel, set yourself up for a warrior two, and come on up. Pause there, and then straighten your right leg. Draw your right outer hip back and tip yourself into a triangle. But feel stable and open at the same time. Take a breath and then come on out. Bend through that right knee. Now you're going to pivot on your right heel and turn your toes toward the long edge of your mat. And then bend deeply into that right knee. Send your hips back. So we're kind of going back and forth through a skater. Come back up and then bend into your left knee. And really bring some weight into that left heel. And then just go back and forth here. Your sensation in one leg and the other is probably different because we really turned that strength on in the right leg. And then you can play with your transition here. So maybe you come all the way up to straight legs before you bend a knee. Maybe you try to keep your hips level and you just gradually go from one bent knee to another bent knee. Right, and just feel that in your hips. Go back and forth. Right knee, left knee. And then come all the way to straight legs. And we'll find a forward fold here. So inner thighs push back. Have some softness in your knees and let yourself come down into your wide leg forward fold. Maybe hands come to a block, maybe to the floor. And then play with your stability here. Rock weight into your heels, rock weight into the balls of your feet. And notice where you really feel like you have the most space and support at the same time, where that center of gravity is. And then think about rotating your inner thighs back toward the wall behind you that you're looking at between your legs. And just come up halfway. Walk your hands to frame your front foot. Just pivot on your feet, plant your hands, step back to your plank. And pause there. Lengthen. Spread your shoulder blades. Feel like you're pulling your hands and your feet toward each other, and then pull the floor toward you. And this time, just find a regular cobra. Let yourself lengthen there. And then bend your knees, go back into your child's pose. Just feel the sensation in your hips. And then tuck your toes. Downward facing dog. Inhale onto your tippy toes, look forward. Exhale, bend your knees. Take your walk up to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Come all the way to standing. Just let yourself collect yourself there for a breath. And then find your blocks again. On the highest height, so you've got support and you're strong through your back legs. Ground down through that left foot, bend your right knee. And then you'll bring your right leg straight out to the side like a peeing dog. And then you'll soften into your left knee as you reach that right foot over to the left. Push into that right heel and let this transition to your right leg out, to the right leg crossed back. Be really controlled and mindful. Did about 6 on the first side. And feel your breath connected with your movement. Do one more. And after you find that curtsy, reach to the side. Just come back to center and then reach your right leg back. Find a high lunge and just bring your right block in line with your left foot. Bend into that knee and then open yourself into a twist. And see if you can feel some length through that outer left hip. And take another round of breath there. And then we'll come down, both hands down, bring your right knee down, toe heel that left foot out to the left, and find your lizard. So maybe you move your block to a lower height. You can sneak your right knee back. You can find a little bit of circling in your hips there, but play with a place that really feels friendly and feels supportive through their core. So no pinching anywhere in your lower back. Make sure you're high enough. And see if you can relax through your hips there. And then bring your hands down, move your blocks out of the way. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, ground your heel, and come up into your warrior 2. Straighten through that left leg. Draw your outer left hip back and find your triangle pose. Let yourself be really expansive here. Lengthen through your hamstring and really push down through that left big toe. And then you'll just naturally find support through your left outer hip, not in a way that's rigid, but in a way that's helpful. Then come on up, bend through that left knee, and then pivot on your left heel to turn your toes. And we'll just move through that Spider-Man skater, bending one knee and then the other. And then you can play with how you transition here. So maybe your hips stay low as you gradually bend from one knee to the other. Maybe you come down and you can lift toes of one side. Then you come down lower. So you feel that strength and support at the same time as you have some fluid opening. You can use your hands if you're low. Once you're even on each side, you can come to your straight legs, parallel your feet, draw your elbows toward each other, and this time find some length and opening through your heart. Soften through your knees and really send your inner thighs back as you fold forward. If you want to find some twists this time we're here, you can reach for your left calf, ankle, outer foot with your right hand. Creep your left fingers forward and just bend through that right elbow. And then switch sides. If you're twisting, take a breath or two right in the center. And then walk your hands to frame your left foot. Find your plank. And this time, just bring your knees down. Toes touch, knees wide, push back into child's pose. Just 2 or 3 breaths there. And then downward facing dog. Let yourself feel some buoyant support through your shoulders. Maybe shrug them. Feel the connection of your hands with the floor, so that U shape of your palm from your pinky to your thumb. Feel that. And then push your finger pads into the floor. Maybe lengthen through your outer armpits. Lift your right leg up and back. And then bring your right knee into your chest. You'll take your right foot and send it out to the left and come onto the outer edge. So maybe up, Barry doesn't have very much space there, but. And then ground into your right hand, ground through your left heel, and just open up to this fallen triangle side plank. Bring your left hand down, and then we'll bring our right hip to the floor. And you can bend your right knee as much as you need to. Do you need to move so you have space because the furniture's there? And then you can play here. This is an IT band stretch through that outer hip. Bend your right knee as much as you need to. You could walk your hands over to the right. You could bring forearms to the floor or a block. I like to kind of keep my back toes tucked. Just kind of helps give some feedback to my core. How's that feel? Yeah. And just kind of breathe. You don't want this to feel torquey in the back of your pelvis. So you can be on your right hip more if you need to. We'll just come back to our hands, straight back into our downward facing dog. If you want to find some hip circles or something of that right leg, you can just wiggle it out. And then we'll take our left leg up and back. Left knee into your chest. And then you'll send that left foot out to the left. Okay. Ground through your left hand. Really feel like you're kind of palming a basketball with that left hand. Externally rotate your left shoulder. Ground your right heel. Reach high. This fallen triangle, side plank. Right hand down. And then you'll bring that left hip to the floor. Bending that knee as much as you need to. Okay, so it could be kind of like a pigeonish thing that's happening here, or you can have your legs straight. I like to tuck my back toes to kind of turn my hip point toward the floor. And then you can walk your hands to the left. You can just bring your forearms to the floor. Think about having a long spine wherever you are. Right, and finding a place where the sensation feels useful, but it feels global in a lot of ways. You're not feeling any real pinching anywhere. And obviously there will be more sensation in your outer leg than there will be in your forehead, but really kind of let yourself distribute what's happening. And find one last downward facing dog. Tuck those back toes. Find the wiggles you need in that left hip. And then step your feet as wide as your mat. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Heels in, toes out. And just let your hips sway from side to side as you come down to a squat. Your hands don't have to come off the floor. Just feel your hips after that work that we've done. And we'll make our way to a seat, however you want to. Use your hands as much as you need to. Start with a Baddha Konasana. So sit on what you need to sit on. Bring the soles of your feet together. And then find some resistance of your inner thighs to your elbows. And pretty high up. Let your knees be pretty high up. So push maybe with about 70 or 80% of your effort, elbows into thighs and thighs into elbows with a long spine. Just feel that muscle engagement as you breathe. And then keep your elbows exactly where they are. Don't move your elbows at all. Just draw your knees closer to the floor. So find some space there. And then in that new place, bring your elbows to your thighs. And then find that resistance. Push your thighs into your elbows, elbows into your thighs. 80, 70% of your full capacity. And then release the effort. Keep your elbows exactly where they are and use your outer hip strength to bring your knees wider. That's fine. And then we'll do one more. So find that new place. Push thighs into elbows, elbows into thighs. Keep your elbows exactly where they are. See if you can open your knees a little wider. And then just release all of that effort. See if you can kind of shake out, relax, lengthen through your spine, and let yourself fold any amount that feels okay in your body as you relax through your hips. And once you come forward with that hip hinge, you can find a global natural curve of your spine, just no hinging anywhere. And return to your breath. Breathe in through your nose and see if you can make your exhale even longer than your inhale. And then come on up. So for our last thing, I want you to kind of decide what feels most useful in your body. You can do wide legs and find a forward fold and stretch inner thigh muscles and inner hip muscles and hamstrings. Or you can find some cross legs, maybe a crossed twist or stacked knees and fold forward. But just take about 6 breaths wherever you need to be. So if you're doing this that's asymmetrical, 3 breaths on each side, or about 6 breaths in wide legs, or just a straight leg hamstring stretch. But really kind of listen to what it feels like your hips need after what we've done. I feel like I need cross-legged stuff. And after 3 breaths or so, one place, maybe switch, maybe shift into something different or switch with side. And once you feel complete, mindfully transition onto your back. Just hold on to your thighs, hands. Make your way onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest. So it's just kind of like a upside down child's pose. Find that compression of your belly. If happy baby sounds good, or just circles of your knees. Whatever will make your lower back feel ready for this. And then lengthen out. Really ground your heels into your mat, and then just point and flex your feet. But keep your heels totally stuck to where they are on your mat. And feel how that kind of just shifts all of your skin and muscles across your mat. And you can let those points and flexes get faster. So you're kind of rocking your body and just shifting. You can feel that on the back of your head, the back of your rib cage, maybe your arms. And then let yourself get smaller and smaller until those little rocks go away. And take a breath where you're really paying attention to your breath. Big inhale. Long exhale. And let that attention just transition to allowing, letting yourself just breathe without any effort or control. Soften through your mouth, relax your tongue and your forehead and your eyes. And then make this transition from your practice to the rest of your day. Be intentional. Move slowly. And pay attention to bringing more awareness to your body and wiggling fingers and toes. You could open your eyes wide and then keeping your head stationary, just look as far as you can to the left. And then as far as you can to the right. As far as you can toward your toes without moving your head at all. As far as you can up past the crown of your head. And then into the center. Reach your arms over your head, just stretch long. And soften your knees. Roll to one side and pause there. And then use your arm strength to come on up. And bring your hands to your heart. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. As you go into this new day, right, just focus on that building. The divine light in me honors the divine light in you. Namaste. Thank you. Thanks, honey. Have a good day.